Since the sandbags were changed in this game, we've been going about camping all wrong. We've been trying to stick to the old traditional ways of camping in today's game instead of realizing that we as campers will need to improve our strategies if we want to stay relevant and viable in today's meta. The problem with sticking to old and traditional camping strategies is that we don't have the old and traditional tools we used to. The barrette was nerfed and sandbags were nerfed, and so we need to adapt to that if we want to become top tier again. And so without further ado, I present to you a brand new style of camping. I call it camping like a tank. For starters, all full-time campers already know why we need to change our tactics because you've seen it every time you've tried to camp in today's game. But for those of you who don't camp or aren't familiar with camping, I'll quickly give you a little rundown on what's going on right now. In the past, we were basically invincible undercover. It didn't matter if our enemies knew exactly where we were or exactly what we were going to do or exactly how we played because they couldn't get through our defenses. So we'd win every time no matter what. And it was really fun. But ever since the sandbag changes, what's happened is we aren't invincible anymore. Now, when skilled enemies know where we are, they can rip through our cover really easily. And that's been a big issue for every camper. But the real risk is not just that they can get through our cover. The real risk is the fact that since they know where we're camping anyways, they can take us by surprise. And because we're being taken by surprise, in combination with the barrette nerf, we're basically helpless. Before, it didn't really matter if they took us by surprise because, again, they couldn't get through our defenses, so it didn't matter. And you might be thinking, well, why is it such a big deal they're taking you by surprise? The reason this is such a big deal is because the primary method of camping is to push your screen pretty much all the way to the left or all the way to the right, depending on where you're camping. So since we were pushing all the way, what happened was we can only see a sliver of, what's on our backside. But that wasn't a problem because when they attacked our backside, they wouldn't get through our cover. And when they attacked, we could see the attack through that sliver. So then we knew, oh, okay, somebody's attacking me. And then we turn around and get them. So it didn't matter if we couldn't see them. But now what's happening is, since we can't trust our cover to absorb that one hit anymore, what happens is we get killed from the rear and then there's not much we can do about it. And it's not like you can just stop pushing your screen or altogether or, only push it a small amount, because if you do that, you're basically losing all of the advantages of camping in the first place. So we've come to a big problem. And then on top of that, since we can take damage through our cover now, what happens is rapid fire weapons can really do a lot of damage to our positions and force us out of our positions in really crucial moments. So it's become a very, very big issue if a player knows where we are, because they can force us out of our position now with rapid fire, or they can sneak up behind us. And what are we going to do when that happens, right? So that's the big issue all the campers have been facing right now. And so this is why I've come up with this new camping method, and now we will get into the method, and I hope it helps. Oh, and please pay attention to the clips playing in the background. These clips are of me camping like a tank. So by watching the clips as I'm speaking, you can sort of get a little bit of context in what I'm talking about and sort of see it in action. So if I'm not explaining stuff perfectly, you can kind of pick up whatever you're missing from the clips. So watch them. First, I'm just going to explain how this method works, the bare bones of what to do. And after that, I'm going to explain why it works and go into more depth about why using this is more beneficial than trying to use traditional camping strategies. All right, camping like a tank. So tanks are armored, but they don't just stay in one spot. They push the enemy, take cover whenever they can, whenever it's advantageous, and they relocate when they're at a disadvantage. Now, we as campers need to sort of take inspiration from this and mimic this to turn the entire map into our sandbag. I kid you not. Now, what does this actually mean? Well, what it means is instead of sticking to 1 or 2 camping spots throughout the entire match, you're going to be relocating your camping spots all the times in a sort of pattern. Let me explain. First, you zip around the map looking for enemies. As soon as you find an enemy, you just take whatever cover is nearby. Use makeshift cover, terrain, whatever you have to, and then out-camp that enemy and beat them there. Then you relocate. So it's sort of like Every time you find an enemy, you make a little makeshift cover den and then win the fight and relocate. In this sort of camping style, when you're not actually in combat and camping, you're going to be moving around the map as fast as you can, hunting for enemies. So you're basically going to be hunting down enemies and then camping them to death. Of course, the risk in this is there are times you will get caught outside of cover, and there are times you'll get caught without any good cover nearby. And when that happens, you're going to want to work to end the fight as quickly as possible, which is why I'd recommend you'd use some sort of one-shot weapon or a highly efficient weapon to just make sure you end that fight as soon as possible. What that actually involves is learning to be really good at making mobile shots. So that means while you're moving fast, you need to be able to take shots and hit them reliably and consistently. This strategy hinges on you moving to find new enemies after every time you clear the area. It's important that you don't take unnecessary risks, and if you're at a disadvantage, don't be afraid to just fall back. So to sort of summarize this style in, 3 parts, the first part is going to be you hunt down enemies. And as soon as you find them, the second part's going to be to set up any sort of camping position with whatever sort of terrain or cover is nearby, and you're going to need to do this really fast. The third part is to get your shots off very, very quickly. But if you don't have cover, then you're just going to be relying on your speed, getting in there very fast, ending the fight quickly, and if you take any damage, go run for a med kit. It's all about speed when you're caught outside of cover. You need to be accurate and you need to be quick. Once you have dealt with all the enemies in an area, you just go back to step 1 and go hunt for some more enemies. Before you do that though, if you did take damage, make sure to heal up, and restocking on throwables and grenades when you can is also always a good idea. So when you're not in combat, you're moving across the map really fast, looking for people to camp against, and making sure you're using the terrain and cover to your advantage. Think of yourself sort of like an air freshener spray. So it's like, you don't spray all the air freshener in one spot. You don't spray all your campingness, I guess, in one spot. You have to sort of spread it out. It's the same sort of concept. Instead of waiting for enemies to go to you, you go to them and then set up camping positions. So you're sort of like taking camping to them. Now, this strategy takes a lot of speed, accuracy, and practice. So what's the point in camping like a tank? What do you actually get out of this? Well, by doing this, remember what we were talking about at the start of the video? How it's become impossible to camp because of being taken by surprise? By doing this, you can't be taken by surprise because even you don't know where you're going to end up camping. I mean, you're going everywhere, right? So how is your enemy going to know where you are? It's impossible. And because of this, you can sort of min-max camping. You can get as much advantages out of camping as you can while being barely mobile enough to make it viable. And that's really the key aspect of this style of camping is you take camping's biggest weakness, which has now become predictability, and you get rid of it by becoming unpredictable. Now you set up camping spots all over the map using whatever you have at hand. So it's impossible for your enemy to predict where you're going to be. You can't be blasted out of your positions from off screen and stuff. It's a lot harder for people. It's almost impossible for people to try and sneak up behind you because you're moving all the time. And so by using this style, you can really try and get the best out of camping in today's game. Now, the only circumstance which you might want to favor traditional camping over this style is if you're playing against really inexperienced players and you have a really good spot, like you're in the space map or canyon map and you're playing against noobs, then that's the time when, traditional camping is going to work really well. But as soon as, a pro joins that match, you're going to start struggling a lot. And so that's really what this sort of camping style was made for. It's a counter to all the pros finding ways to beat our camping. So hopefully this will breathe new life into the art of camping. Thank you all for watching, and please let me know your thoughts about the style in the comments.